This is a two-part story I found on Reddit. I'm going to condense both parts into one video. If there's more to come later, I will gladly add that to finish the story. So let's begin. It's late, and all the lights are on, and all the TVs are on, and anything that can play music is on. It helps to distract from what's going on around you. You never feel alone when you have the telly on or the radio playing. It also helps to drown out strange happenings that have been plaguing us lately. When the lights are on and there is noise in the background, it keeps the scariness away. Myself and my wife Julie wanted to get away from it all. We never had kids, just dogs that we treated like kids. We were finding ourselves getting on in years, worked hard for all of our lives and just wanted to relax. So we decided to move, find somewhere out of the way, something isolated, and after a few weeks of searching, we finally found what we're looking for. It was perfect, cheap in fact. It was seriously cheap. I thought it was because there was something wrong with the house. Whatever it was, we had the money to fix it. So I thought. Everything was on board. The house was perfect. Big kitchen, dining room, living area, 5 big bedrooms, and a few hidden extras. What caught my interest was the cellar. It was big and it had so much potential. It also had a creepy hidden door that I couldn't get open. I couldn't wait to see what was behind it. It felt like it was Christmas and I was 10 again. We had all of our stuff move over to the house. As I waited for Julie to arrive, I decided to explore. There was that door I was interested in down in the cellar, so I went and grabbed some tools to see if I could get it open. When I was making my way down to the cellar, I felt a cold draft rise up from the darkness. I didn't notice it before. It really cut through me and I had no idea where it was coming from. As I made my way down into the darkness, I couldn't escape the feeling that something was watching me. As I looked for the light switch, I felt something creep up behind me. My body froze when I felt its warm breath on the back of my neck. Fear gripped my body as I frantically searched for the light switch. Relief surged up from my feet as I located the switch, only to find the cellar room empty when I switched it on. Apart from the big creepy door that seemed so out of place from the decor of the rest of the house, it seemed older than the rest of the house. The door was solid. It appeared to be nailed shut. I wasn't sure what sounded scarier, that someone was trying to keep something in or keep something out. After about an hour or so, I finally got the door open. It was an empty room apart from a large sheet of wood on the floor. I got my fingers in under the sheet to flip it over. I was in shock to find it was covering a large hole. A bottomless pit first sprung to mind. I stood there for a few minutes peering into the strange hole. It seemed so pointless. As I stood there peering into the darkness, I could have sworn I heard a whisper rise up from the pit. It was so faint. Echoes from the wind getting into the cellar from somewhere, I thought. Then I heard Julie's car pull up outside. As I went to meet her, I heard the voice again, and this time it was clearer. Help me. That feeling of fear washed over me as I saw two glowing eyes appear from out of the darkness, only to vanish as quickly as they appeared. When I got upstairs, Julie was standing there with the dogs. They were acting strange, she told me. She was trying her best to settle them, but something was really freaking them out. It was definitely the house. For the life of me, I couldn't get them to go near it. They were big old black labs about 13 years old. We got them as a pair and called them Sprinter and Polly. From the moment we had them, we kept them as house dogs, and the older they got, the more they liked to relax indoors. So this was very unusual for them. The house came with a small outhouse, and they seemed fine with it. They seemed happy to be away from the house. After we ate and the dogs were settled in the outhouse, we realized to make our bedroom somewhat comfortable. It was getting late and we were tired. It was beginning to get dark, and it was then I realized we had forgotten the light bulbs. I went down to the cellar to get the only light bulb that was in the house, only to find it was gone. I shouted up to Julie to see if she had taken it. "I haven't been down there yet," she shouts back. I ran back upstairs to find Julie smugly standing there, smiling, holding 2 candles. "Look what I found. Does it bring back any memories?" she smiled. It was our second date, and we went for a hike in the woods, only to find ourselves stranded over a large thunderstorm in a ranger station, with nothing but a candle. It was that night I knew I was going to spend the rest of my life with her. After we were done snuggling, we blew out the candles to get some sleep. Julia is one of those weird people that likes a cold foot when trying to sleep, so she hangs her leg out of the side cover. As I'm lying there snuggling with her, she starts jerking and giggling. "What's wrong?" I asked her. "Polly's licking my foot again," she laughs. "Stop licking my toes," she shouts as she jerks in excitement. It was then it dawned on me the dogs were locked in the shed. As I went to jump up from the bed, Julie let out an awful roar. "She bloody bit me!" she screamed, as whatever was in the room scurried out of the bedroom door. I was sure the dogs were locked away, and I wasn't wrong. They were right where I had left them, locked in the shed. A few days passed, and we filled the house with lamps and put light bulbs in all the rooms around the house. The dogs still wouldn't come into the house. They were happy hanging around the outhouse. The strange occurrences didn't stop, but it wasn't until the fourth night that things took a little turn for the worse. It was getting late, and Julie was upstairs getting ready for bed. I was downstairs reading a book. Then I heard an awful scream come from one of the bedrooms, and when I ran up, Julie was crouched down by the bed, shaking. I ran over to her to see if she was alright, and she just jumped up and hugged me. I begged her to tell me what had happened, but she wouldn't. She wrapped her hands tightly around my neck. "Never leave me alone in this house again," she begged. It wasn't until the next day when we were having lunch that she told me what happened. She said the light in the lamp went out by the mirror on the nightstand. As she walked over to try and fix it, a dark outline of a person appeared in the mirror, and the figure of a baby appeared in his hands. But the figure of the baby was so much clearer. She said you could see the lips on the baby were blue, and make out the darkness of the baby's eyes. The baby was dead, she told me, and as she was gazing at the baby, its eyes shot open, giving her an unmerciful fright. She even tried to apologize for being so stupid. It was the next day, and Julie decided to take the dogs for a trip to get them away from the house for a few hours. I knew it was an excuse for Julie to get away from the house for a bit. It was really starting to wear her down. It was getting late in the evening, and it was getting dark. I went to turn on the light in the kitchen to cook some dinner for when Julie got back, but it didn't seem to be working. I checked a few more, and the power seemed to be out. I made my way down to the cellar to check the fuse box. It was pretty dark down there, so I brought a flashlight. As I was checking the fuse box, the flashlight went out. I stood there for a minute, smacking the light to get it going again, and that's when I heard the voice. This time it was a lot clearer. It was the voice of a young girl coming from the room with the hole. At first it was a whisper, and then it got louder. "Please help me. Please help me. I just want to go home." The closer I got to the room, the darker it got. My eyes had to adjust to the dark. I couldn't get the flashlight to work. The voice kept calling out. As I got closer, it fell to a whisper, and when I got to the hole, it just stopped. As I peered down into the black pit, I called out to whoever was in there. "Are you alright? I'm here to help," I shouted. As I looked deep into the hole, two bright little specks appeared, a bit like a cat's eyes. The eyes got closer and closer as if they were coming up to meet my gaze, when all of a sudden I'm snapping out of it and I realized I'm in the hole. A shooting pain shot up my back to my head. I must have slipped in, I thought. I didn't even know how long I was out for. I started to call out for Julie. As I was screaming, I realized I wasn't alone in the hole, and I could feel them breathing on my neck. That's when I heard the whisper in my ear. "He got you too. Now he owns you." I started to feel their hands make their way up my leg. I started screaming out for Julie as the hands were making their way up my body. Then I heard a voice from up top. It was Julie. "What are you doing down there? Are you alright?" she shouts. The hands stopped creeping, and the whispers stopped whispering. Julie got a ladder and got me out. I didn't even tell her how I fell in the hole. I didn't want to scare her any more than she already was. That was only the first week. We have been here for 2 months. Well, I have. Julie left about 2 weeks ago. It got too much for her, and I don't blame her. She hasn't left me, she just left the house. The first week was just the start. 1 of the Labradors had died. I chalked it up to her being too old. but Julie reckoned she was scared to death. I better get some sleep. That's if they let me sleep. Part 2. People have asked me why the hell I didn't get out of the house as soon as the strange stuff began, and why didn't you get your wife out of there? At first, my brain didn't want to believe it. I kept rationalizing all the strange events away. I had sunk a nice chunk of change into the property. I felt some weird duty to honor that and make the move work. We traded our other lives for this dream. We couldn't just go back. But that's not to say we didn't try leaving. When the dog died, I think that really spooked us, and that was the first time ever we tried to leave. It was the day after the event in the cellar that things started to get really intense. It felt like the house was just warming up. It was the night after, and I remember it clearly because I was still freaked out from the day before. That day, we went and bought a television for the sitting room and the bedroom, so we could have something playing in the background at all times. We decided to take advantage of our new living arrangement and go to bed early for a snuggle and a movie. As we were lying there watching the movie, all the lights in the bedroom went out and the television died. Then it switched back on, leaving only a static picture. As the brightness of the television increased, so did the static electricity in the air, which seemed to be radiating from the television. Then the hum of the static turned into a high-pitched voice. "We know his secrets. We know his secrets." Over and over again. Then the high-pitched tone turned into a really low-toned, angry growl. "We know his secrets. We know his secrets." The television got brighter and brighter till all of a sudden it exploded, showering us in the glass. Then the lights turned back on and everything went quiet. Scared out of our minds, we decided to sleep in the car. As we were sitting there the following evening, we decided to go out for the night and stay in a hotel. I think we were still freaked out from the night before. Julie decided to go for a shower, and I was downstairs on my laptop. I heard Julie screaming for me again. Please, not again, I thought. As I got to the bathroom, Julie was just standing there pointing at the mirror with a horrified expression on her face. The glass was all steamed up from the shower, and words were appearing on the mirror. His secrets are buried in the past. I was starting to get a feeling someone or something was trying to tell us something. After we got dressed, I decided to go and start the car. I just wanted to get away from the house and told Julie to follow me out. As I got to the car, the heavens opened up. I ran back in the house to find Julie passed out on the couch. It didn't look like we were going anywhere that night, so I covered her with a blanket and went to bed. As I slept that night, horrifying images were being conjured into my dreams. I was dreaming of a faceless man torturing and murdering women down in the cellar. It was strange, he wasn't faceless, more in the sense he wouldn't reveal himself to me. In the dream, the faceless man is trying to murder some poor woman in the cellar. I grabbed the man and tried to stop him, and when I turned him to face me, I woke up in a ball of sweat and my heart pounding. Feeling thirsty, I went downstairs to get a glass of water. As I'm filling the glass, I heard scratching at the back door. Then I heard one of the dogs barking. I opened the door and Polly rushed in. She seemed in a panic. She ran over to the cellar door. She was sniffing and barking like mad. Something really was upsetting her. I walked over and opened the cellar door, only for Polly to bolt down the stairs. As she bolted down into the cellar, the door closes shut. I tried my best to get it open, but it wasn't budging. I could hear Polly down in the cellar freaking out, barking and growling at something. It went all quiet. Then I heard her let out a gut-wrenching squeal. All went quiet again, and then the door opened. I ran downstairs, and there was Polly lifeless on the ground by the pit. I went over and checked her pulse. As I'm checking her over, I felt something creep up behind me. I felt something cold wrap itself around my neck. My chest went all tight as if the air was sucked from the room. As I gasped for breath, I heard a voice whisper in my ear. It was a man's voice. "You know my secrets." Then whatever had me let me go. I don't know how I was going to break it to Julie about Polly. She loved that girl as if it were her own daughter. The next day, I got the builders to fill in the pit. While they're getting started on the hole, I decided to take Julie to a hotel for a few days. I handed the keys to the builder and told him to lock the place up when they were done. I was feeling relieved to be getting away from the house. I was even thinking of not returning. As we drove, my vision began to get blurry. In the next minute, I'm waking up with the car in the ditch. When I looked to see if Julie was all right, I noticed she wasn't in the car. I looked up, and there she was just wandering up the road to the house. I called out to her and got no reply. I followed her back to the house to find the builders packing up. One of the builders seemed injured. When I asked him what had happened, he just threw the keys at me, jumped into his truck with his buddies, and then drove off. I followed Julie back into the house to find her back on the sofa, passed out. It was at this point I was getting really scared. I need help. Who should I call? Who would even believe us? And whose secrets are buried in the past?